Hi, I'm Miss Patty from Peters Township Public Library. This week our bedtime stories are about farm animals, and I have a wonderful one called This Way, Charlie. It's inspired by a true animal friendship story between a goat and a horse. It's written by Caron Levis, and it is published by Abrams Books. Jack the goat watched the new animals scamper, hop, flap, and trot their way onto open bud ranch. Some would stay a short while, others longer, and some might even make the ranch their home, like Jack had when he needed a safe and caring place to live. Open Bud Ranch had space for all kinds of space to heal, rest, and grow. Everyone could see that Jack the goat liked keeping his space to himself. Everyone except Charlie the horse. When Charlie arrived, he didn't see Jack at all. "Hey!" bleated Jack. "Oh, pardon me," neighed Charlie. Jack could tell from how Charlie swerved this way and not that way that Charlie could only see out of one of his eyes. Antonia, the owner, explained that once in a while, for different reasons, blindness happens. She couldn't mend Charlie's sight like she had the eagle's broken wing, or release him into the wild like the possums once they'd grown, but she could give Charlie time to see in his own new way. Antonia said everybody deserves plenty of food, love, and patience. By now, Jack knew that this ranch gave plenty of fresh hay, groomed with soft brushes, and always trimmed hooves slowly. Still, Jack did not want anything to get too close, too quick, or too loud. So Jack stepped back and he watched out for Charlie. Now Charlie whinnied to everyone in a cheerful way, swished his tail and snorted. He stopped to sniff the honeysuckle, which was the same thing that Jack liked to do. He chewed thoughtfully and followed the sunlit patches as if he wanted to get to know the whole place. But Charlie couldn't go very far on his own. Sometimes he bumped in an oops way, not a pushy way. And a lot of times he just stood still in a very lost way. Jack noticed that Charlie's eye had a soft glow just like the moon, which often guided Jack when he felt lost in the dark. He wondered what Charlie used for a moon. Some mornings, Charlie pawed at a dark patch of dirt. Scratch, scratch, scratch. Hungry, thought Jack, or scared, maybe lonely. One day, Jack took an extra deep breath of honeysuckle. In for the sweet, out for the brave. And he spoke. "This way, Charlie," he said, and showed Charlie the way to his favorite field. And they grazed and bathed in the sunlight. The next day, Jack did it again. "This way, Charlie," he said. Jack walked a little ahead and on Charlie's seeing side. He slowed down when the trail got steep, stomped when they reached fresh water, and when it got too hot, he called Charlie towards the shade. "Hey," Jack called. "Hay's for horses," Charlie called back. Soon the next day became every day. They had a pattern: walk, graze, sunbathe, return. Sometimes a quiet like warm milk filled the space between them. Other times Jack asked Charlie questions about swinging his long tail, about galloping, about being so tall, about going blind, and about the ranch, the world, and sometimes about dreams. "Well, the way I see it," Charlie would answer, and Jack would listen. On cold and wet mornings, instead of going into their place, Jack would guide Charlie into the barn. Charlie would step in, but Jack always stayed out. He wanted to go where it looked peaceful and dry, but his body remembered a different barn from a long time ago, where it was not calm and it was not kind, and he just couldn't go in. Charlie couldn't make the rain or the past disappear for Jack, but he could show Jack how kindness moves, sounds, and waits for skies to clear and new memories to take shape. Charlie could give Jack an inside, outside. Look at how he's sheltering Jack from the booms and the cracks. "Do you get scared of things you can't see?" Jack asked Charlie. "All the time," Charlie told Jack, But the way I see it, that's what a friend like you is for. Friend. Jack chewed the word over like a mouthful of fresh, sweet grass. As the days went by, Charlie began walking more and more slowly, and then one day he stopped because now he could not see out of either eye. So Jack moved closer to the center of the path. This way, Charlie. Yes, this way, Jack. They kept walking, one hoof in front of the other, until it felt like Charlie's steps and Jack's were the same. Once, when the other goats went galloping by, Charlie said, well, hey, we could play with them. But Jack trembled. Well, maybe we could play with the fawns, Charlie asked. Or what about the new raccoon? I can't. Making new friends gave Jack a very bumpy, unfriendly feeling. Let's just say hello, because the way I see it, said Charlie. No, you don't. You can't see at all. Charlie was surprised, and so was Jack. He hadn't meant to snap so close, so quick, and so loud. A new kind of quiet grew between them. It felt like a swallow of dry, rotten grass, rumbling around in their insides. And maybe that was why they didn't notice that the sky was rumbling too. Boom! Crack! Rain came pouring down so fast and thick that Jack couldn't see Charlie, and the wind howled so loud that Charlie couldn't hear Jack. The trees bent, fell, tangled. Oh no, they trapped Charlie. Jack tried this way and that way, but there was no way in and no way out. So Jack ran. Jack ran and ran for Charlie. He bleated to all the animals to come and help Charlie. Jack banged at the door. He found Antonia, and he urged everyone to follow him closely. This way, Charlie needs us. The mud was thick and the branches were strong, but the whole ranch worked together and they were stronger. Finally, Charlie was free, and Jack led the way inside. This way, friends, he said. Everybody huddled together. Jack whispered, I'm sorry, and Charlie whispered, thank you. The barn filled with all kinds of snores, dreams, and a quiet that neither Charlie nor Jack could see, but both could feel. It was splendid and warm, like the sun that rose the next morning, and they walked that day, the next day, and every day for the rest of their lives, one hoof in front of the other. This way, Charlie, this way. The end.